but that Friday we made the decision, this is coming and coming fast. And I said, Aaron, you and I need to cancel our trip, not get on the plane, but we'll let them get on the plane. Meaning that our salespeople were not about to let us shut their trip down. They were not going to permit it. And they were furious if I were to say, you can't go celebrate all the hard work. So even in that was our first big decision. Do we let people in the midst of this trial go? And so the mindset at that moment was, who are our people? And Aaron, I love to just take us into the teaching. You saw on that video, Tim Kite. And some of you may have heard of this. I know the RevLocal folks know it well. E plus R equals O. And that was our first training just 3 or 4 weeks prior to that. So you remember, what Tim was trying to teach us. We weren't talking about COVID 1 month earlier. Was E is an event. R is a response equals an outcome. So it's a formula. E plus R equals O.
And we were fascinated because Tim had taught that principle to the Ohio State football team. Yep. And for a lot of our employees, that was an exciting thing to learn about the mental strategy that Urban Meyer had placed within the team. And if you remember, he's telling the story about the national championship season when we lost quarterback after quarterback, and how that they used, this is an event, but what you can control is your response, which can predict your outcome. And so it was so valuable for us, basically having 6 weeks before this pandemic, we had been all trained on what to do, which was respond and have a positive mindset.
And remember, you do not control events in your life, but you do control response. And if you affect the response, you'll improve the outcome. And when you improve the outcome, your response can be better the next time, and the events change in your life. Mm-hmm. And so when COVID hit, let's talk for a second about what are the steps of the R factor. So I want to just share this because I think it is life lessons that were instilled in us and ingrained and seared into our memories about what do you need to do when uncertainty and fear hits. Because the fear that we had, Aaron, became real really fast.
Well, I watched out my window, thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment underneath the arms of our employees as they were throwing it in the back seat of their car to go home. Is this really going to work? Are they going to go home and actually work? I didn't know the answer to that. I had hope.
Well, and I look back at myself and say, look what I learned about our people is they're more committed and passionate to their work than I ever gave credit for. Because we used to always get these requests from many young professionals, can I work from home? And I'm thinking, okay, I know what it works like when I work from home, Aaron. I got 5 kids, I got 2 dogs, and I'm distracted. Dad's home, play. And so I always pictured that life from our people. And when they walked out with that stuff, they're in the car, 150 computers, double screens, their desk, their stand-up desk, all that stuff went out the door. We're like, hopefully it'll turn back on when they go, because next week we have thousands of customers relying on these people to serve. And what we learned was awesome because their response exceeded our expectations. And so going back to the R factor, Aaron, the first step, R1, Tim calls it the R factor. R1 is press pause. Don't react, respond. So you're preparing your response. You cannot react. And I think so many of us in our culture today, and what happened after that is we know there was a lot of things happened on top of COVID that were the outcome of people not pressing pause and just emotionally reacting about a number of things. And if you press pause, then you can start to do number 2, which is get your mind right. And so mindset is what we're talking about, is how do you get your mind right so that you can do the third step, which is step up. So press pause, get your mind right, and then step up. Because what most people do is they react to the event with an emotional reaction. And that doesn't give you any ability to really set your mind right and then come up with a good response, because you're in an emotional reaction mode, which doesn't give a great outcome. And it reminds me of the story that I had, Aaron, back when I used to share this, even before COVID hit when I was on my 15th wedding anniversary. So the bio I gave you, I didn't realize it's about 5 years old because I'm married 25 years this year. So 10 years ago, I took my wife and my kids on a trip, Aaron. We were going to Rome for our 15th wedding anniversary. And when I got to the airport on July 10th or whatever it was in the middle of summer, I think it was, we're going on the 11th, the next day. So on Friday afternoon, sunny, beautiful day in the middle of July, I get to the airport and I go check in. I'm going to fly to Philadelphia and then to Rome. Have my 2 kids, 2 of the 5, and my wife. And I go up to the counter and they say, the flight's canceled. I said, the flight's canceled, what's going on? So, well, there are storms in Philadelphia and we can't get you there. I'm like, wait a second, there is a flight at 6 p.m. tonight. It happens once a day from Philadelphia to Rome. And so if I don't get to Philly somehow, then we're going to be pushed back. And I've got the whole trip, 10 days scheduled back to back to back. Get on this train, go to this city, go to that city, all the stuff people told me I should do someday if I wanted to go on this big lifetime trip. And they said, well, we can't get you there. The first flight we can get you is 7 a.m. tomorrow. And I remember that moment where I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, but, and start getting mad at the gate person like everyone else does. And I stopped for a minute and said, that's awesome. She said, no, I said it's canceled. I said, it's awesome. And she said, what do you mean it's awesome? I said, we're on vacation and I'm not going back home. I've got 2 kids at home. I got 2 with me. We're going to go to the hotel. And how early can you get me? She said, well, there is a 6 a.m. flight. I said, great, we'll get on the 6 a.m. flight. And what ended up happening was I realized by responding that way, my kids had the time of their life in Philadelphia. We went on the little ducky boat. We went out and did all that. We saw the Liberty Bell stuff I'd never taken them to see. And we had a day at the beginning of our trip that the response in saying, how can we make this better, really enabled us to have a great vacation. Because if I had reacted the way I wanted to, my kids would have had a terrible vacation because dad would have been mad. They would have been emotionally reacting to what I did, which would have affected the whole group. And so that training, I think that's what this is. It's mindset training. Is do we understand what happens, the effects?
And one of the practical ways that we did this, because we have to emulate the reactions that we want everybody to have, was Mark and I showed up every Monday morning and we started to record a video for all of our people. And we were talking about, we don't have the answers. We were not making up the fact that we knew how long this was going to last. But what we could control was our reaction and the reaction that we expected as we our customers. And so press pause, get your mind right, step up. What's after step up?
So after you step up, then when you make a step, it may not always be the best answer. So be ready to adjust and adapt. And this is one of the things that I think we have to realize during COVID. We all have to remember our fort. Are you ready to adjust and adapt? Or you just lock in and say, here's what we're going to do, just do it. Because I think that's an emotional thing that leaders do as well, because they're looking for the ability to lead. So they make a commitment to something and just stay in it. And I think the ability to adjust and adapt requires a bit of humility and reflection with one another. And then the last two are R5 is make a difference. Make sure that you're growing from the adjusting, adapt, and you're making a difference. And the last one, build skill. So Aaron, have we built skill during this process? When I think about the mindset, this was a concept in February at the annual meeting. It became practice that had to happen. And the last one is building skill. So what do you think about?
Yeah, as far as it goes with mindset and building skill, as we serve our small business customers, all day long, I was checking in through Teams with our strategists that were talking to these small businesses. And it was funny because as it first got started, I could tell people weren't excited to turn their video on because maybe they weren't appropriately dressed for the workday while they were at home. And then when I turned my video on, I'd made sure I had a tie on some days because I wanted my mindset to say, I'm here to serve you. And then my first words were, aren't you glad that we have this opportunity? So adding energy to say, here's our mindset. And then all day long, we're checking in. Our business will never be the same because of the skills that we've learned. both on the sales side and across the entire business.
You know, and I would, it might be crazy for you to hear this, but somebody asked me what I thought about COVID the other day, and I said, I'm so grateful it happened. Because it did build skills for our people. It enabled them to actually do the things that we talk about, is that you have to learn how to manage yourself. You have to learn how to respond. You have to be able to. And fortunately for us, we were fortunate enough to get the right people on the bus to be able to have people who can do that and that will take that leadership and try to learn and grow in it. And I think there's a couple things I wanted to mention as we leave mindset and go into talking about culture. But the mindset piece, you know, there's a phrase out there that people use is don't let them see you sweat. That's what they say about leaders. Because I would suggest that to me, it can become one of the biggest weaknesses, that there is a problem, that why CEOs don't get it, why leaders don't get it. What they don't get is that when you put on a false face, people see it.
Yeah.
If you're scared as a leader, they know you're scared. People read people. And so
have you had bad days?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Being vulnerable with your people and with your coworkers is one of the most powerful things that you can exude in your culture. And there was times that I would get on a call with somebody, and you know, I've got 3 daughters, and there's a lot of sounds going around. And I would just say, look, you know, I'm dealing with the emotions of them being stripped from school. They've got immense amount of homework. Like every day, I felt like I was showing up to a battle. And the power that I felt when I was just being honest with people, saying, I'm really struggling here at home, and this is tough, but I'm thankful that I'm having this conversation with you because you're giving me hope. It just added to the value that we've built within our culture.
And I think that is the foundation of a strong culture, Aaron, is trust. And you only build trust, not when you act like you got it all figured out. One of my son works for us, and he said to me one day, you know what, Mark, you and Dad, or you and Aaron are on the videos. It seems like you got it all figured out, but every time I talk to you, I realize you don't. I realize you're trying to figure it out, and that's why you're talking to me. Mm-hmm. And he said, that is so energizing that I don't have to feel like you got it all figured out, and I don't, because every one of us is in the same position. So I would suggest to you that there is a phrase that I do believe in. And the first part of this is don't flinch. So while you're being vulnerable, you're also you're not frantic. You're not reacting. That's flinching. That you're getting all emotional and you're going down the spiral of emotion. Don't flinch, because leaders are believers. And I think that what we've tried to remind ourselves, Aaron, at every step, because when RevLocal started, Aaron, there was 5 of us around the table talking about an idea 10 years ago. And now there's what we have by the grace of God and the good luck we've had and hard work. But it is really about belief. It's about the ability to believe before it happens. And I think, Aaron, as we go into talking about culture, we can talk a little bit about how do we build that and what did we picture. And I think it's that leadership of being a believer.
Jennifer, if there's any questions, please stop us. We'd love to hear from you. If anything that we're saying causes you to say, I would like to know a little bit more about that, please. We want this to be interactive. As we transition into culture, one of the things that we found really beneficial as we went through COVID was all of the investment that we had placed in our people, all of the individual conversations that we'd had over the years. Every time that I'd stopped by Nicole Arnold's desk and had a conversation, it all paid forward because people believed in what we had created together. And there was a rallying cry around that. And we danced on that rallying cry, didn't we?
We did. And that was the rallying cry that we came up with, was emerge stronger, is to not worry about it. And the reality of it is, at the moment this hit in March, by the end of April, we had lost over 20% of our business. So if you do the math, if we were to right size RevLocal, that means that we should have cut out about 90 people. We should have and could have said, 90 people need to leave because the size of the business just shrunk. And so if we drop 20%, then our expenses better drop 20% or we're going to run out of cash and this business is going to crash. So that's the fear. That's the conversations we're having. Like, what are we going to do? How fast, how long is this dip going to be? None of us knew if it was going to dip for 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years. And so when you go back to understanding who's with you on that and how you're responding at that, I think the culture and what you said, like we've built into the group, is having people who are going to respond in a way to really make it happen. And what we leaned in on was what we had already put in place too. So I would like to just share, how do we articulate culture? So I spent 10 years at Park, and it was a great training opportunity for me, great professional development. I have great respect. The leaders I had, I got to work directly for David Troutman. David taught me things that I share every day. And I think one of the things that's interesting though, was when the company was big, there was always this executive exercise, Aaron, about mission and values, and they had a make a difference campaign. Well, it was like a 3-page document, and none of us ever really referred to it except for the slogan, make a difference. Expect it. And so one of the things that I think we learned to do, Aaron, was to really create clarity around who we are, what our vision, mission, and values are, and make sure that we didn't just put it on the side or pretty on the wall, but that we brought it into the culture every day. So our vision was changed and refreshed. And I think for some of our organizations, it's a past exercise, and it's not something that gets refreshed, because we did a refresh, about 3-4 years ago, Aaron?
Yeah, I think 2 years ago. And when you think about rallying cries or what people are working towards or for, we really honed in on those core values: be real, go beyond, and help someone, being actionable and repeatable. So when COVID hit, it was easy for our people to have instilled within them those core values that caused us to say, we're built for this moment. And even though we're losing customers and there's fear involved, and no doubt there was for everybody, we took those opportunities to say, this is how that we're going to respond. And our culture is going to come out of this better than it ever has. And as fast as we could, Mark, we sat in front of people, we pushed videos, we had conversations and said, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that everybody stays with this company. And now that we're from a bit from that moment in time, what would you say our culture has done in response to what we've faced?
Well, I think I'll reemphasize what you said, is make sure that you caught simple, portable messaging. Mm-hmm. It is so critical in every organization that you have mantras and something you can tie into. Something, what our organization has done in culture is to really live out being responsive, living out the R factor, but they have responded to emerge stronger, finding a way to emerge stronger, finding a way to focus on who are the folks that we need. What do we need to do to emerge stronger? That was the phrase we came up with. It was providing better product for our customers. It was giving our customers the same level of hope that we were giving our people, right? You get your mind right personally, and then you get your employees, in that position, and then talk to the customer. And so what we found was many of our customers needed us to help them off the ledge, help them start to think about a proper response. So when you go back to what the culture did, it really is stepping in and helping the customers, helping each other stay strong, and then continuing to be agile, continuing to come up with the next new response as a culture, so that we could step in and provide the result.
And we've done some really unique things to feed our culture that now is predominantly remote. We had to come up with some new ideas. And so one of the things is we have a monthly meeting called Primetime Live. The last one that we had in February, I think, or it was the 1st of March, was standing room only within our building. We had 285 people at this hour-long meeting, and now they're not here. So we took Primetime Live and we took the Saturday Night Live format, and we make our monthly meeting. Primetime Live is very SNL based. We have opening skits, one of which Mark was the lunch lady, And
Sloppy Joe,
Yes.
Sloppy Joe.
Leslie Urocco just
Wait a
hosted.
second. I don't know if they're old enough to even know that. You're gonna have to look it up on probably
Some will.
YouTube. Some will know, right? I know that the folks at RevLocal probably can tell you where to find it.
The concept of Primetime Live being more like a variety show is that people are thirsty for personality, they're thirsty for entertainment, and they'll remember our statistics, the things that we're working on that they need to be involved with when it's in a production format. And so Dan is in the room with us this morning. He's been phenomenal in helping us to produce this. And so Leslie Urocco just hosted, and so we have a host. We have a house band that plays songs, and it's been a phenomenal way to keep our culture fed in a remote way.
So could we make sure after this is over, Jennifer, that we send Leslie Urocco's skit video out to everybody so they can see it?
Absolutely. And I had the pleasure. Yes, Leslie. I had the pleasure of seeing the Saturday Night Live skit that my son shared with me, and it was awesome. So we do have a couple questions. Can we go ahead and ask those? Okay, so Jamie Wright asks, when we take on a new leadership opportunity, it can be exciting, but also very scary. What advice do you have on getting comfortable being uncomfortable in leadership?
You go first. I'll follow up.
Yeah, being uncomfortable, one of the things that I would share, one of the things that's been most difficult for me, and I think Aaron, for both of us together, is we started with, the company that was prior to RevLocal never got bigger than 60 people, and now they're 450. And so I think there is something about realizing you're going to be uncomfortable and embracing that. Embracing mentally and having your own mindset to say, my job is to be uncomfortable and to help other people deal with the discomfort they have. Meaning that leaders are believers. We have to imagine a world that's different than today, because when we started our first product services to our customers, it wasn't good. Our first sales pitch, it wasn't good. We were doing it wrong. We just try to have a mindset that helps everyone realize we're going to fix it. We're willing to make it better. We're not sticking to there's no emotional attachment to anything that we draft.
Fail
fast.
Fail fast. It's a story war. Jamie, I love the question. And I think that I'm honestly still trying to figure that one out. I think I have some days where I win that battle and other days where I get in my own head. But if you know that you're going to face a story war in your own mind, then you win based on which side of that story you feed the most. And I want to be optimistic about the challenges that I'm willing to face. And I always have believed that when I face resistance in my own mind based on being uncomfortable or facing something I've never been able to do before or new experience, that resistance exists because there's something amazing on the other side. And so I want to surround myself with allies, and those allies I can go to who I predict are going to be able to give me the energy, the optimism to overcome my own negative thoughts and push me in that direction where I see the benefit of being uncomfortable. And I've got a career now of seeing the benefit of putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. And now we get to do that as an entire organization because we serve small businesses. This is a daily battle that all of our people are engaged in.
Well, and I think Aaron just said what I was going to suggest. Make sure you find allies. Sometimes when the business is small or you're starting something new, there may not be allies internally. Find external allies. Find people who can help you solve or support you when you need that, encouraging word. We all need it. And so realizing in leadership, you're just the same as the new person you hired. You have emotions. You're a human being. You have failures. You have strengths. You have blind spots. But you have a different role, and your role is to help everyone grow and help the organization stay focused and allocate resources. That's what our roles are, and every leader has that to some degree. And I think, Aaron, your point about making sure that you find those allies and you strengthen yourself, I think is a critical element of being successful.
I had breakfast yesterday morning at 7 a.m. with the chief marketing officer of Bob Evans over in New Albany. And I think sometimes that we give people this persona of perfection. In reality, it doesn't exist. And so I sat down at breakfast and he could not wait to tell me all the problems he was facing. And so just remember that the uncomfortableness is an opportunity for you to learn new skills, learn experiences that you then can hand down. Great question.
Okay, we have
Jennifer?
another one. Yeah.
Great.
So Jocelyn Hartshorn asks, with 2021 looking uncertain at the moment, what advice can you offer to start the year off right for our organizations?
All right, it's one of the ones that, you know, as you think about coming into 2021, I think for us, we're spending time talking about this right now. And I will go back to maybe an example of what we did in May. There was a podcast I listened to that was entitled Plant Your Friggin' Tree. Plant your friggin' tree. And so what he talked about was don't overanalyze and wait on everything to be clear. Don't wait on, you know, because a lot of people want to check the wind, see if the rain's coming from the right or the left, and get it all right, and then take action. When we were dipping down 20% in April, we decided on May 1st, we were going to hire 25 salespeople. Why? Because we believed that we would overcome it. And the best way to show everyone that that's what was going to happen, is that we were going to overcome it, was to take an action, to take a response. We weren't sure it was a good idea. We weren't sure we were going to be able to train them because they were going to be remote. We had never done that before. We weren't even sure that they could knock on doors like they did before, but we chose to plant our tree on, we are a company who's going to overcome. We're going to emerge stronger, and we're going to take actions and plant a tree right here that says, in May, we're coming out of this thing. And I think it gave a rally behind everyone, is that we weren't just using nice videos and words, but we were going to actually do things. So asking the question about 2021, I would say that right now we're talking about what trees we're planting. We just hired 2 new executives for 2021, a new VP of product never had before, and a brand new leader of all of our tech part of it. So we're reinvesting and committing that we know that we're going to figure it out together. We don't know the answers of exactly what they're going to do or which product it's going to be, but by leaning in on each other and making a commitment to take action, then I think that's the best way to make results happen, Aaron.
I love the question because it's futuristic. And in 2021, what are the things that we can predict, that we can control? This pandemic has hit everyone. And we are all subjected to things that are uncontrollables. But I like to think about further than that. So 5 years from now, you'll look back on 2021 and you'll be glad that you did what? Spend all your time thinking about and complaining about you wish things were different? That's not going to help. So I like to think the creativity side of the future, and then pull myself back from that and say, in 2021, I want to have this kind of mindset, attitude. I want to go after these particular things. And everybody is subjected basically to the same thing, but some are thriving. I want to be a part of that. And so I have no idea what January and February are going to look like, but I will wake up and I will take advantage of whatever opportunities are provided. And I want our people to think that way. You know, a lot of it is about perspective and priorities. And I think what my biggest takeaway during COVID this past year, I've spent more time with my family in the last 9 months than I have in the last 10 years. And it has been incredible. And I'll look back at 2020, and there's a lot of positive things that I'm going to take from that. And so as I go into 2021, what can I pull through that I'm not willing to lose now? We've sat down at our dinner table every night, no matter what. And I know that these years with my daughters, you know, they're ticking off fast. And so I want them to look back at 2020 and know that we had time together. So set your priorities. Think about what will you be glad that you did in 2021 as you look beyond even that? It's a great question.
Okay, we have a few more. Spencer Barker wants to know, what advice would you give to those working from home on creating an ideal work-life balance? And what have you seen your employees do that have been successful for them that may be successful for others?
Yeah, Spencer, I think we're all still trying to figure this out. But there's got to be repetition. You've got to get into a cycle of discipline and harmony. And for me, that mindset starts when I wake up in the morning and I know that I have certain things I got to do. I want to look the part. And so we started requiring our people, dress like you're going to come into the office, because that mentality set in motion a professionalism that people were struggling with. And so my workspace is my workspace, and it is for work. And so starting to really, designate things so that you are as productive as possible. And then I come back to the ally thing. It's so important. We're trying to promote conversations, social interactions, connections within our tribe at RevLocal that are healthy to what we're all facing. And they don't have to always be so work related. Have a conversation. I know that we have, I was on a call last night for North Carolina, South Carolina sales team, and it was a happy hour. Now I'm driving, so you know that I've got my water, but it was so healthy for them to talk about things that weren't work related. So those are the things that come to my mind, Spencer.
I think, Aaron, the self-awareness is key. One of the things that we've realized with some of our folks is they don't know what's dragging them down. There is a remote fatigue. There is a fatigue of not being able to interact with people. So finding ways to feed yourself and challenging people. What we've had to do is challenging people to come in. We call them on-sites. It used to be called off-sites. Now they're on-sites. Come on site, stay socially distanced, keep yourself safe, but interact with people even for a day. And every single time we get people saying, I did not realize I needed that. Mm-hmm. And so I think, there is this pendulum, Aaron, you and I talked about, where mental health and, and how COVID restrictions, cause a rise in mental health. And if they lower the,
and I'm concerned about
back and forth.
I'm really concerned about it as we come into winter, because we've had the benefit of getting out. We've had the benefit of good weather. It's been incredible. That first snow, my wife was like, this is not good, because she's thinking 6 months from now, I'm going to be able to get out and ride my bike. And so I think that we've got to stay active and we got to encourage one another in that. Great question, Spencer.
Okay. We have two more. And this one is from Nathan Arnold. He says, good morning to you. And you touched a little bit on this, but he says, I feel managing a team that rotates remotely and in person, you sometimes miss the brainstorming, ideation, and planning opportunities. What are some tips to build excitement and keep momentum, especially when working with multiple teams? Zoom can only do so much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think for us, we found what you just said, Nathan, is very true. That what gets lost in a virtual world is passive learning and creativity to some degree. So like you say, Zoom meetings can become very difficult. I think one of the things I would suggest is changing up the structure of the Zoom meeting, coming up with a theme for the meeting. One of the things that unleashes people is that it's not like the last one. What we've done with Prime Time is to make it very different and make something feel different. Whether it be, hey, this is going to be hat day, it's pajama day. It is, different themes that create a different mindset. Like, I'm going to get on this call and I got to have a cool hat, or I'm going to be without. So they have to go through this exercise of trying to find one. And then they have a lightheartedness that opens up creativity, for example. So I think sometimes when we're just getting on Zoom call, we got a picture, Zoom call, which is, our days are stacked like this sometimes. And what we've learned is, I think, like you said, the happy hours or a game of cards, or just finding the most creative ways that you can do things virtually, and remembering when people are having fun and not being forced to be so serious. We're not saving lives here. We're trying to do a job and we're trying to enjoy that job. Therefore, that can unleash some creativity. So we continue to try to find new ways. We don't have it figured out. Tomorrow, for example, tell them what we're going to do here tomorrow.
So we're asking everybody to wear their pajamas, and we're having a drive-by breakfast where we're giving them breakfast before the watch parties for our monthly prime time. And our national sales manager from Phoenix is coming in, and she's dressing as an elf. And are you dressing up?
I'm trying to find some pajamas. I gotta go shopping. This
I can
second.
find some for you.
Yeah.
I want the footies.
Yeah, my sweats don't work as pajamas for most people, but that's at 8 to 10. So Nathan, doing something that's we never would do, seems crazy, seems like a waste of time, actually creates that better connection. I know everybody's culture is different. For us, that creates that opportunity. And what we added to it was a diaper drive.
Yeah.
And so this is the other thing that I would encourage everyone to think about. When people are struggling, the best way for them to feel hope is when they realize someone else needs them. And so we did this with the hunger drive. We tripled the amount of money we raised. We just brought it up to people and said, we are so fortunate. We're able to protect ourselves. We're all doing well. How can we help someone else? And we had triple the fundraising. Tomorrow, we asked them, hey, come in for breakfast, but bring a pack of diapers. We're doing a diaper drive for all the needy moms that need diapers for their children. And so we're going to stack up and make a pyramid out of the diapers we gain tomorrow. It's called Bottoms Up. And so Bottoms Up you can look it up. They're a charity that serves pantries and fills those. So when you're coming up with those ways, I think put in the element of being grateful for your own situation and try to help someone else. And I think it also unleashes people's hope.
Yeah. Nathan, give me a call. We can talk about some ideas. And then I know that Nicole shared some of the things that we've done, but I'm a huge fan of getting some people back in the office. We have worked really hard to have a safe environment, and I know every employer has worked on that. We have some meeting rooms that can fit 15, 16 people in, and we can be social distanced. And I want to get them back in for some healthy conversation. And every single time that we do that, they all say, I didn't know how much I needed this. And so I'm a huge fan of getting people moving again while they still feel safe. Yeah. Jennifer, back to you.
Yep, we have one last question. So Ryan Frenton asked, what books or podcasts do you recommend to leaders?
Wrong question to ask these two guys.
We don't listen or read. We don't like it. Well, it's a great question. It's one that I keep. All of you are young leaders. And one of the things I say to all of our leaders, especially during the COVID, anytime we have faced obstacles, Aaron, we've tried to find a book or find somewhere where we could learn. We are not the keepers of knowledge. We're not brilliant guys. People and learning from books and podcasts. My favorite, and we really lean at RevLocal, is Pat Lencioni. Pat Lencioni's leadership podcast talks, he's the one who wrote 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And so Pat Lencioni is a big one for me. Also, Aaron, we've got a list of books that are foundational for RevLocal.
Leslie Urocco has been teaching on in our leadership development. What is my number one business professional book, growth book, is John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And when I think that I've got them all memorized, I go back. And so virtually every day, I reread one of those laws or spend time thinking about it.
So give me 2 more and I'll give them 3.
Oh, what got you here won't get you there. Gotta be like one of the, we want to give ourselves too much credit for the things that have led us to our positions, but those aren't necessarily the things that are going to get us to the next stage. So that's a big one. Let's see.
40X.
Yeah, 4 Disciplines of Execution. That's an operational leadership book.
So any young leader in our company, and Leslie can also help with this, because she helps teach that. Leslie Urocco on the call helps teach our group. Another one is Crucial Conversations. That's one we really lean heavily on. There are 2 others I would say. One of my most foundational books is If You Become a Leader, is really understanding good to great. Never being satisfied with just being good, but how do you get to great? What's it look like? And that is a foundational book, been around a long time. Jim Collins and I go back to that, and we teach on that and so the key to these things though, is don't just read the book, notate it and try to take something from the book that you apply somewhere. Like the Stockdale paradox, the flywheel, hedgehog concept, those principles in the books, we've actually teach them, bring them into our operations. The other one, personal development. When I was a college kid, the book I got a hold of when I was rehabbing a knee injury was How to Win Friends and Influence People. It sounds as a title, some young people say, well, I don't want to be manipulative. That's not what it's about. It's about how to understand psychology and what we need and what other people need so that we can give that to one another. Dale Carnegie wrote that probably 70 years ago. Foundational book.
Stephen Covey, 7 highly effective habits, anything Maxwell related. But, I think that it's more about the discipline of feeding yourself. And all of our leaders are expected to make sure that they're reading. Lincoln on Leadership is probably my number 2.
Well, Aaron, I would just to solidify why you asked the question.
Yeah.
Is that you are going to be the same person you are today, except for the books you read and the people you meet. Not just meet, but associate yourself with. So remember, if you want to become a great leader, read great leadership books. If you want to be influential, get around influential people and learn how they think, because they're no different. They put their pants on one leg at a time. Like you said, the perception of leaders is they got it all figured out and they're brilliant. No, they're just learners. They're just people who didn't stop when college was over. They kept saying, I'm going to figure this out. I didn't expect to be a marketer. I didn't expect to lead an organization that became this size. But fortunately, we have a mindset that we're going to keep learning and challenging with allies with one another so we can all grow together. So I would just encourage all of you to have that mindset, and the opportunities will open up for you in your career.
Back to you, Jennifer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you. You definitely helped us make this not the typical Zoom call, and we really appreciate your insight. It was really phenomenal.
Congratulations to all of you that are under 40 still. I don't know.
Yeah. And thank you for the leadership you've given, Jennifer, to the chamber and to all the young leaders that are in the county, because leadership is what leads to the next generation of great success. So, just challenging each other, make sure you're allies with each other, make sure you stay connected to people you went through the class with. And if you haven't done that, reach back out to them. Now's a great time. We all need a contact from someone that we haven't talked to in a while that'll lift your spirit. So I encourage you all to do that.
Absolutely. So we have recorded this call. We will be sending it out. If Aaron or Mark or Leslie want to share any of your prime time, I'd be glad to share that as well. And the video that we showed this morning. So again, congratulations to those 20 under 40. Thanks to the Advocate and Lincoln Memorial Health Systems for sponsoring this morning. And thanks to everyone who joined us. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you soon. Have a good day, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.